Your support helps us bring you programs you love. Go to wyomingpbs.org, click on Support, and become a sustaining member or an annual member. It's easy and secure. Thank you.
50 years ago, Teton Science School started with the idea that natural science should be taught in nature. Wyoming Chronicle visited the Teton Science School as it celebrated its golden anniversary. The Teton Science School next on Wyoming Chronicle.
Funding for this program was provided in part by the Wyoming Public Television Endowment and viewers like you.
My name is Chris Agnew, and I'm the Executive Director at the Teton Science Schools. And thank you all so much for joining us this morning for our Founders Brunch today, celebrating 50 years at TSS and place-based education. It's a really special day for this organization and so fun to bring together people involved in this organization for decades and friends from more recent years as well. We are going to kick off first with a video, the TSS history video, which is premiering right now.
Speed, clap it.
Teton Science School started with a simple idea. Natural science should be taught in nature. Ted Major, a teacher in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, believed his work would be more effective if he taught science outside, using the national parks as the classroom. In 1967, Ted, with the support of his wife Joan, took his first group of students to learn in the shadows of the Tetons.
Back in the day, all kids played outside way more than they do today, but they weren't necessarily learning anything or much about their environment. So I think what was really innovative about what Ted and Joan did, they took kids backpacking and taught them about what they were seeing, flora and fauna, and how to live in nature. And I think that was not a common thing to teach.
We're trying to have the students gain respect for the environment, the air, water, plants, and animals, this type of thing. We're trying to have them gain respect for one another. We feel that there's a great deal of social interaction that goes on here.
In the early years, Ted taught with the help of leading environmental scientists, Dr. Bob Smith, David Love, and Jim Halfpenny, all who had extensive knowledge of the Greater Yellowstone Ecosystem. Their expertise, paired with Ted's penchant for scientific outdoor adventure, led to the development of programs in high school field ecology and biology. As these programs took shape, Presidential Medal of Freedom winner Marty Murray became interested in Ted's work. Marty was influential in the passing of the Wilderness Act in 1964 and later became one of Teton Science School's first board members.
It's been a great experience for me. My one feeling about it is that I haven't done enough for the school, but that I have been the beneficiary of this.
Well,
Marty stayed involved with TSS by hosting participants at her cabin at the Murray Ranch until her passing in 2003. As TSS grew throughout the 70s and 80s, it expanded to include 6 full-time staff and 1,500 annual students on the Kelly campus, formerly known as the Elbow Ranch and Ramshorn Ranch. By the late 1980s, Teton Science Schools had solidified its home base in Grand Teton National Park and continued to grow its reputation for excellence in environmental education. By the mid-90s, the Kelly campus had reached full capacity. TSS needed a new avenue to continue the momentum environmental education was gaining. However, it was becoming difficult to hire and train staff that fit the Teton Science School's mission. To solve this problem and create another opportunity for students to engage in environmental education, Program Director Nancy Shea came up with the concept of a Teton Science School's graduate program.
we were training all these seasonal employees and these seasonal instructors, and they became really good. But then what happened is they'd disappear after a season. And so what if we just turn this into an official training program? And then what would happen that following year after that 1-year training, we would hire those people.
In 1994, the first graduate class completed the year-long intensive program. After completing the program, graduate students would leave with academic knowledge, education skills, and leadership qualities to apply to a wide range of impactful careers. TSS was blossoming, and so was the Jackson Hole community. As the area became renowned for access to the national parks and public lands, the valley saw an influx in visitors. TSS needed to adapt to accommodate growing demand. With help from board members and donors, TSS purchased Great Plains Wildlife Institute and renamed it Wildlife Expeditions in 1999. The addition of wildlife expeditions allowed TSS to use ecotourism as an avenue for connecting visitors to the landscape and charismatic wildlife of Jackson Hole. At the same time, a group of Jackson Hole residents and members of the Teton Science School's community felt that the TSS mission was important for future generations. And in 2001, the TSS board voted to start Journey School, a pre-K through 12 non-religious independent school, the first of its kind in Wyoming.
Journey School started with a group of parents who were interested in doing something different in the local school district. We opened in the spring of 2001 with faculty coming on board, and we had 3 months to build the school and find a campus and make that campus happen. And then in September 2001, the first students showed up.
Journey School hired several graduate program alumni as founding faculty, knowing their teaching philosophy and training would fit the Journey School approach. As Jackson Hole continued to boom and Teton Science Schools experienced more demand, adding an additional campus became inevitable. In 2005, after a long search for a fitting property, the Jackson campus was constructed and opened. The Canyon campus became the permanent home of Journey School and allowed TSS to add over 100 beds for visiting school and youth groups. The Jackson campus also allowed TSS to host workshops for developing educators through the new Teacher Learning Center. In 2010, Director Jack Shea began to explore the possibility of expanding the Teton Science School's mission into Teton Valley, Idaho. Ultimately, TSS board members and Teton Valley Community School staff determined that a merger would be mutually beneficial. Merging the two nonprofits allowed TVCS to build a sustainable, independent school model. Today, TVCS offers project-based learning for pre-K through 8th grade within the Greater TSS place-based education model. To continue the Murray family legacy, the nonprofit The Murray Center had been established in the late 90s, and in 2015, the Murray Center integrated with Teton Science Schools. This allowed the Murray's vision to expand to reach thousands of TSS participants each year.
It has been very, very exciting for me to watch how something can grow in size but still maintain its heart and soul. And that's really why, not only why I have stayed involved, but why I think it is such a very, very special place.
And as we continue to learn more about the Teton Science School, we're pleased to be joined by Jack Nunn. Jack, thanks for joining us on Wyoming Chronicle.
My pleasure.
You've had a relationship with the Teton Science School since the late 90s. Jack, tell me, how did you learn about the Teton Science School, and how did you become involved?
A dear friend, Dick Jones, had been chairman of the board, and he invited me to just attend the finance committee. I'm a retired banker, and so I was on the finance committee for a couple of years, not as a board member, and then the evolution is you become a board member, and it evolved to where I was very active when we built this campus, and that was a real challenge. I had about a 30-year banking career, and I'd have to say this project probably caused more gray hair than anything I had done in the past, but it's something I'm probably most proud of.
What struck you about Teton Science School? Why was it Why was it so important to get this done? And we're in a Journey School classroom. We're
Right.
in the Jackson campus of the Teton Science School. Why was it so important to you, Jack?
I would say initially it was that I had retired at a fairly young age and felt I needed to do something to give back. And the science school, by the friend, got involved in it. I love Jackson Hole. I have visited here as a kid growing up in Casper, Wyoming. So the valley was very important to me, and I saw what the Teton Science School was doing and what it was teaching the kids and the adults. So I just felt it was a major place that I could enjoy things, enjoy helping.
As you see what has been done here and how the program really has grown, certainly since the 70s, but since the turn of the century, what's your hope now for this school?
Oh boy, I have used in a lot of my visiting with other board members and kind of a philosophy is I talk about the multiplier impact. And I have seen from the Journey School, from the wildlife expeditions, from the graduate program, how it has multiplied. And we give funds to a lot of nonprofits, but we've determined that we wanted to give more, but we want a real impact to come of that. And the multiplier effect is what the science school accomplishes. I look at our graduate program here, which it's between 15 and maybe 20 young adults who are graduates working on their graduate degrees. And I've watched it over the years grow, and these young people go out and do things around this community, around the state of Wyoming, and all over the country. And I look and I say, good Lord, the multiplier impact of these people, where could you invest your funds than in something like that? We teach now, we actually have programs in Casper, Laramie, Cheyenne, Encampment, I think, Saratoga, Rawlins. They have our graduate students and other teachers go out through the Teachers Learning Center and do these programs all over the state. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited that we can do something for the state of Wyoming that I love so much.
Well, Jack, congratulations on what you've done and the impact you've made here on the Teton Science School. And thank you so much for joining us today on Wyoming Chronicle.
Certainly, my pleasure.
Colleen Cabot now joins us on Wyoming Chronicle. Colleen, welcome, and thank you so much for visiting with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
We had a chance to hear you this morning speak at the Founders Brunch, and you talked about, you became emotional.
I did.
About how important Teton Science School has been to you.
Mm-hmm.
Why was it such a game changer for you in your life?
Well, I think part of it was, like Terry Tempest Williams says, Ted was the first Democrat I ever met. He was a progressive. My parents were very conservative. So he opened up that world, that bigger, compassionate world in a way. And Ted and Joan became our family the time that we were together as a group. They really formed a group that worked together. And so that was a very dear part. And they are wonderful people, Ted and Joan. Joni is, as I said, the glue that held everything together. She cooked, she kept everybody clothed, she took our laundry in and we dumped it on the table, and she sorted it with us. And it was just a very intimate experience that first summer.
Now, I should point out, you were here in 1969.
Yes.
Almost at the very beginning.
Almost.
Tell me about your first days here.
Well, I arrived, my folks, as I said in my talk, dropped me off at the Haynes cabin, which is a little cabin that was just below Whitegrass. I don't even think it's there right now. The Park Service moved a couple of cabins in for Ted, and they had this lodge. And Marty Murray was there dusting the cabin walls with Gene Jorgensen, who's a long-time science school board member. They had their bandanas on and they were working. And a local contractor who was a rancher over in Thermopolis was building on an addition for the kitchen. So immediately I was pulled up into this community of people, and it was a different kind of location than the Kelly. Very forested, very close in, But we could get out up onto the berms and probably the river floodplain there and look over the valley. So we really got to know that little area for 6 weeks long.
You grew up in Casper.
I did.
Why is this type of education, which was different from yours and different from mine, so important?
Well, I experienced it in my summers with Dana Vanberg and Beecher Strube, who did field sciences. Their program has been going for 60 years. And it's just being in the outdoors, and I mean, it's such a rich place. It's not the same as a classroom. There's things that are grabbing your attention all the time. The weather's changing, the sun's changing, and then a little animal will go by, and you wonder what is that? So it's, I think, a really stimulating place to be. Classroom education just cannot cover that. It can prepare you for it, and you can go back to the classroom and figure it out, but you need to be in the outdoors to really understand nature and how it all fits together. I really feel that the more kids that have these kind of experiences and go on to teach and go on to spread that to more kids, I think the teacher learning center is perfect, because then you have that bigger multiplying effect. But we need lots of kids who have this experience in the outdoors, because the more citified you are, the more you're away from that. You don't understand climate change. You don't understand what's happening in your own community with air pollution. You need this core experience. So I'm, like Jack said, we're all hope junkies, and I guess we're hanging our hopes on these kids.
Well, Colleen, Cabot, welcome back to Wyoming.
Thank you.
And thank you so very much for joining us on Wyoming Chronicle.
You bet.
Best wishes to you.
My pleasure.
And our final pair of interviewees as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Teton Science School are now with us. We're still in the classroom here in the Journey School. Jack Shea, we heard you talk just a little bit earlier, and Dana Scott Anderson, welcome to Wyoming Chronicle. Dana, I want to start with you. You're now an elementary school teacher yourself, but this program has had an impact on you. Describe for me really how, as I think you would tell me, it was life-changing for you.
It certainly was. I came here as quite a novice educator, but being a part of this community where people were really intentional about the multiplier effect, making sure that what they did was going to impact the people that they were educating, and then that would multiply the more students that we met with. So every time I had someone from Teton Science School work with me as an AmeriCorps educator, as an instructor, and then as a graduate program student, I had incredible faculty members who were really impactful to me and made a huge difference in my life, because they were intentional about what they did. They cared about the environment and making sure that students that I was working with were getting an opportunity to learn more about what made their place special, so that they would go back to their communities and do the same.
Jack, your history with the Teton Science School spanned almost a couple decades. As you described to us earlier, you were a scientist by training, a teacher by choice, and an administrator by mistake.
Right.
But yet you were an administrator here.
Yes.
Why was it so important for you to carry your vision into what is now the Teton Science School?
Well, the Science School was a great place when I arrived here in 1988. It was a very solid program, actually quite well known throughout the country. So it was special to be asked to become its leader. But because Jackson Hole is such a special place in the state of Wyoming and in the nation, it was a place where people wanted to come here to learn about this concept that Dana mentioned of place-based education. How do you connect education to this amazing place? And then how do you do that? Doesn't matter whether it's in Shoshone or Cody or Rawlins, all those places have learning that can happen with kids. So my goal was to expand the program to serve, first of all, more kids in the state of Wyoming, and we did that very effectively. Dana and I were just talking about the Wyoming Youth Congress that we did, where we invited 2 kids from every county to come and represent learning about science in the state of Wyoming. So we started doing a lot of those kinds of things, and what we found relatively early is that we filled the campus, which is the Kelly campus out in the park, and we started looking for another campus to be able to serve like a whole 7th grade group of maybe 90 kids from some school. And so you need a special location to do that, and that's how we ended up expanding and taking over a place like the buildings that we're in right now.
What concerns you about the Teton Science School's future in light of our world today, in light of how technology impacts education today? Are those opportunities, or are those hurdles, are those concerns? Jack, let me start with you with that question, then Dan, I'll ask you the same thing.
I'd probably answer that when you think about place-based education, you often think about concentric rings of learning. Little kids learn about as far as they can reach. By the time Dana's going to be teaching 4th graders, 4th graders can really expand and learn about a city or a town or a state park or any of those kinds of things. So I'd answer the question of concern in the same way. What concerns me about TSS right here in Jackson is the housing challenge that is happening in Jackson. It's a challenge for young, talented instructors to find places to live. What concerns me in being a part of Wyoming is as we talk about ourselves as a state and a state with a curriculum, how do we make sure that strong science curriculum is part of that, preparing all of our students for the rigors of participating in the next century? Nationally, how important is it to have a place like this in the state of Wyoming that is teaching kids from not only the US, but all over the world to come here, get connected to a place, and then go back and multiply that, as Dana said, and also think about how it's going to affect their family and their school and their community, and hopefully they then go into those logical places where you can do education, you can get involved with politics, you can do science, you can do land management.
Dana, it seems to me kids today are more and more apt to not want to go out and explore, not want to take the time to interact with nature. What brought many of us to Wyoming years ago may not be as attractive to younger people and millennials today. So how do you expose and how do you teach with those things that might be hurdles for you?
Yeah, I think that, you speak of technology maybe being a barrier, but I do think that we can integrate it in a really meaningful way. And there are great opportunities for students to be engaged in the outdoors and working with partners from the national parks or scientists and see how technology is used in our natural settings and how it is part of our daily lives as citizen scientists, to be able to see something out there and want to share that information and that data with people who can then care for our birds and our megafauna and the small plants that make it such an incredible ecosystem we have in this place. So there can be, I think, a bridge there where we can get students who maybe are more inclined to be interested in technology and see how it can be used in a natural setting too. And then I think something beautifully that we do here at Teton Science Schools is our community and getting kids in a group, like Jack would say, that grouping is so important to making this transformative education. So getting to spend time with people.
Jack, you said that with emphasis in your speech this morning about group learning.
Right.
And you feel that's ultra important too.
It is, and so when kids are with each other and getting to spend time playing games outside or seeing spectacular landscapes and getting their hands on rocks and learning about geology, when they're doing that with their friends and their peers, they don't need their phones to communicate because they have each other and this really transformative experience. So I think that's a big piece of what we do, is getting kids to spend time together and putting them in these leadership positions to feel empowered.
Jack Shea, who is a self-described Teton Science School addict, who served here for 25 years, and Dana Scott Anderson, thank you so much.
Yeah,
for
thank
both
you.
of you for
Thank
joining
you
us on
for
Wyoming
your
Chronicle.
interest.
Yeah.
Teton Science Schools inspires curiosity, engagement, and leadership through transformative place-based education. Place-based education is an approach to teaching where we connect learning to local places. We do this to increase student and teacher engagement, to improve learner outcomes, and to increase community impact. Place-based education allows students to not only understand their world, but see how they can make a difference. At Teton Science Schools, we teach students to view communities through ecological, cultural, and economic lenses. Our application of place-based education is supported by a unifying educational approach, an intentional culture, and an emphasis on community leadership. We reach students in place-based education in 3 overlapping settings: classroom education, field education, and educator development. People of all ages participate in place-based education through a wide range of programming: wildlife expeditions, field education programs, Journey School, Teton Valley Community School, the Teacher Learning Center, and the graduate program of Teton Science Schools. Each year, Teton Science Schools serves more than 15,000 people from 49 states. These students and participants serve the community by volunteering 6,000 hours to local organizations. To increase accessibility of programming to all learners, we award $1.5 million in scholarships annually. Find your place at Teton Science Schools.